So I said to her, stop fiddling with your hands.
Hi, this is Laura Collett, and you are listening to Season 3 of Eventing Weekly with Mitch and Braden.
What a loud sting this week, Producer Ali.
I thought we'd just go for it.
Normally I start by saying Mitch, Braden, and then my guest's name, but for the second week in a row, we don't have a Mitch Thomason because he's on baby duty. So I'm going to start with Ali, Braden, and William Fox-Pitt. William, g'day, mate.
Oh, it's great to be here. Does that just mean I'm following on from Laura Collett? I feel very honoured to be following on from such a current eventing legend.
Well,
and now it's down to me.
Well, even better than that, previous to Laura last season, we had Tim Price.
Even better. There you go.
And for season 1, Blythe Tate. So
I see. Blythe Tate's my man.
yeah,
That's my day.
yeah, he's a hell of a man. William, I'm just going to open myself up a Hawkstone and get started, but I notice you brought your own drink. Is that?
What, instead of what is on offer here, I didn't know that drinks would be on offer here.
Well, they also are. I mean, we have whatever you want, but I did see you come in straight from Jonna at the Coffee Man.
Yeah, John is my man.
Yeah.
Always gives me a mocha.
Mocha, there it is.
He knows the order.
Yeah, he knows the order. He doesn't even ask me.
Oh, that's so good.
That's good fun.
How great is it to have Jonna in the lorry park, by the way? Like Mr. Consistent and something reliable or something familiar for everyone.
Yeah, he is someone that we know. He's very much on the circuit, probably more than many of us are. He is there. He's your man. He's always listening to all of our stuff and nonsense that we come out with, and he says yes and smiles very nicely, and he's always a good man to say hello to, and he puts you on track.
What a dream gig, isn't it? If you like eventing and you just want to be in the know all the time.
Yeah, I mean, and he was an eventer himself, so it's such a natural sort of progression for him into hanging out with his mates.
I think you're right. He was a good rider, and he's staying in that world, and he's of the generation where there are so many of us just still knocking around, and we have a good time.
How good, mate. How good. Hey, so we're here at Badminton. It's Wednesday afternoon, pre-trot up. And thanks so much for coming in and having a chat with us, William.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, I just wanted to start firstly by asking, how is it coming along to Badminton now without a horse and no thought of even riding? How is the experience?
It's a good question. It's a funny one because I'm staying at Badminton doing some stuff with my wife. We've got a tent here, and we've got a lot going on. I'm walking the course, I think, more this week than I've ever walked in a Badminton before. So, we're busy, but it was quite funny coming here in an empty lorry. That was, we pack in the lorry going, what are we doing?
Yeah.
But I've never been going to come with a horse. I stopped this time last year. That's quite nostalgic. All the memories. They've even got a couple of pages in the program about my kind of my ending last year and everything, and that was quite emotional to read that and think, oh God, it's never going to happen again. But it's great, actually. I mean, I'm really looking forward to waking up on Saturday morning and thinking, thank God.
You can just sit back and enjoy the day. Can you do it? Will you be able to switch off, relax, and just watch your mates go around?
Yeah, I'm quite a good person of realizing that nothing is forever. It's a fact of life, and I've had such a good time. I'm 56, for goodness sake. That's quite old, and things have to stop, and it was about time. Probably should have stopped a little bit sooner, but I wasn't ready, and last year I was ready. And I think now, of course, being history is a little bit sad, but I'm okay with that. I'm very much, there's other stuff going on, and I didn't have a horse ever coming here. It would have been really tough to have had a horse and had a dream and then it gone wrong, or me gone wrong, or it gone lame, or something happened.
Sure.
That is always really tough in a build-up to an event like this. And I've not had that. I've not even, since this time last year, I'm just jumping low jumps, having a nice time with young horses.
Brilliant, mate. Brilliant. It's so cool to know that you were here last year, going out on your terms and doing it, and then being able to fully come back, like you say, and enjoy it.
Yeah, I was lucky. I appreciate that. I had my injury a while back, and that probably should have been the end of me, but it wasn't. So I was determined to keep going a bit longer, and I was waiting for that moment. Realistically, I was realizing, I'm getting a little bit long in the tooth, and it's not going to be forever. And I was waiting for the right moment and the right time. Of course, I dreamed last year that it would have been a fairy tale ending, and I wouldn't have knocked down all the show jumps, and it would have been fine.
Yeah.
But what was more important to me was that I had done a cross-country round and I'd not looked like an idiot.
Mm-hmm.
And I was quite aware, and I was aware that as you're getting older, you don't look as good as you did. You
Okay.
do things that you do because you're a bit more cautious and a bit
Mm-hmm.
stiffer and little less bendy.
Yeah.
And I was very conscious that, I was in danger of a cock up.
Okay.
And then people go, "Oh, for God's sake, just give
Sure.
up. He's past it." And I don't really mind too much what people say, but I didn't want to be that person that everyone felt sorry for.
Yeah.
And that was going to happen, And I felt last year I rode the cross country, and people didn't feel sorry for
No,
me.
not
They didn't
at
go,
all,
"Oh
mate.
God, the old croc is, he survived. Oh, he's
You're
lucky
being a
there
little
and
bit
lucky
harsh on
there."
yourself.
But I would be walking a course thinking, "Oh, don't make a mistake at number 12. Oh, be careful of my line there. Oh, just make sure you don't do something, all those negative things." Whereas in the old days, it wouldn't have crossed my mind. I wouldn't have given a monkey's about
Sure.
whether I made a mistake or looked like an idiot,
Yeah.
as long as I'm getting over the jump. Whereas when you get older, you just think, "Oh, God, I mustn't look like ...
Yeah.
And I think that's probably all of us when we're all getting to that stage. If
Okay.
you look historically, if you look at Blythe, if you look at Mark, if you look at Andrew, they've all gone on,
Yes.
and they've all been probably thinking exactly what I was thinking, that when is a good time, when is the right time, when am I still riding well enough to do it, and when to call it a day. And
Yeah.
that's a real tricky decision in our sport, particularly because we've got amazing horses to ride,
Mm-hmm.
which cover up a lot of little mistakes we make. And I felt that for me, I'd gone out without that little kind of, oh God, he went so badly. So I went so badly that I sort of had to give up.
Yeah.
Exactly.
I could easily have been here. I feel I'm still riding well enough to have been here on Grafenacht another year,
Sure.
and third time lucky, and
Yeah.
who knows, I might have jumped the jumps. But she's gone to Harry Mead and it's going really well for him. He's riding doing a good job, and
Yeah. I wanted to ask you
yeah.
about that, mate, because Kentucky Harry was unbelievable, particularly in that cross country phase. Yeah, from your perspective, how was it watching the mare go? I'm sure you're feeling great for Harry, but is there a little bit where you're like, oh, I'd love to be on that.
I do watch, and I just think, God, I really missed out on what I probably wouldn't have given the mare as good a ride as Harry did. He's 41,
Sure.
and he is at his peak and riding like a demon. I mean, he gave us such a beautiful ride. I could not have done any better. Absolutely never, even my wildest dreams, would I have given her a ride like that. So I was dead relaxed and very delighted to have, seen that Amanda Gould, her owner, and myself gave her to someone that could do her so well. I think he's a little bit annoyed that the dressage didn't quite come off. She was
Sure.
a bit frisky in the dressage, apparently.
Oh, really? I
And
missed that.
she's never lively in the dressage. She's the coolest horse in the dressage, and apparently in that arena she just was on her toes and made a few mistakes, and that was jolly expensive in the end.
Yeah.
Because she jumps really well. Show jumping for Harry, she jumps better for Harry than me probably, and I think that he was really unlucky to only be fourth. He might not have beaten Michael Young, but
Yeah.
he would have been a lot closer with half decent tests. She did a good test here. She's done a 25 and a 27 here, and she's normally easily 70% plus.
Okay. Yeah.
And she was not there. So Harry was jolly cross about that. But it's early days, isn't it?
Yeah.
And I think when he gets to, whether he goes to Burley or what he does in the autumn, I think he'll just have to wear her out a bit more.
Yeah, how good! Oh, it was such an enjoyable storyline to follow. Was it 2 weeks ago? Because it was Adelaide last week, wasn't it?
Yeah,
Yeah.
but to be the only rider to ride two horses inside the
Unbelievable,
time
wasn't
in that calibre,
Yeah,
with some
impressive.
very quick riders
Yeah.
there. You had Michael Young there, you had Boyd Martin
Yes.
there, Philip Dutton, all those world class riders,
Yeah.
and he was the only one to be inside the time twice.
Yeah,
I
it's
think,
incredible.
yeah, and
That's-
happening twice, it's
That's
like, this
pretty.
is not, it's
That
not
was
a
pretty
fluke.
job
Yeah.
done, wasn't it? I think even he, who's very modest, might have patted himself on the back.
Sure. Yeah. He's a great man, as old Harry. And he's keen to come on the podcast. Did you know that, producer Ellie?
No.
Yeah. He's one that's been a bit elusive for us is Harry Mead. He's agreed, but just trying to get the timing
You
right.
can't.
Trying to
It's
cross
tricky to
paths,
pin
yeah.
him
It's
down,
It's tricky to
but he's good at talking.
he's a man in high
Yes.
demand. Yeah, he does love a
We'll
chat
get there this season.
this season. No, very
Sure
good.
we will.
So William, you did, give us a bit of an overview of last year and your final badminton. I was just wondering more specifically, are there any memories from last year? At what point did you decide that that was your last badminton, and then were there any times that you were able to sit back and really enjoy it last year? Do you have any memories?
That's a really good question. I'd been thinking that I've been waiting for a few years for that. I believe there was going to be a moment that you know what, I'm going to wake up in the morning and it's going to be job done. I'm just going to know that I've done it.
Mm-hmm.
And it just wasn't happening.
Oh, shit.
And I'm thinking, okay, we're still going. Then I got the Grafenacht, lovely horse, and wanted, and then of course you come to badminton and you're suddenly loving badminton, loving riding that horse because she was a fantastic horse to ride. And then you have a good ride cross country. And you think, but actually I'd woken up, and I go back to Saturday morning, that feeling, the Saturday morning feeling is notorious in our sport. We all wake up and go, what in God's name
What
are we doing? I'm just going to disappear.
Yeah.
And you go down to that warm-up field, and there's 10 of you down there, and you think, actually, we all feel the same. We are all slightly dreading this. Of course we're looking forward to it. Of course we're excited. Of course we're psyched to goodness knows what to go, but actually I'd like someone just to evaporate me very quickly. And I'd woken up that morning with that feeling of, what am I doing? I'm far too old, really. And in that moment I thought, you know what, I reckon I'm not doing this again.
Yeah.
I've done this enough times. I'm so, I'm very lucky to have ridden amazing horses for as long as I have. I first came here in 1989, which is a long time before you were born. And
Mate, longer for Helen. not far before me. Helen.
And you think, it's just surely, I've jumped around. I've had some great rides. I've had some pretty tough times here as well. Horse times where things don't go to plan.
Yeah.
But I've been so lucky, and it's such an amazing place. You just can't go on pushing it. And I just thought, you know what?
Yeah.
I'm done. And then, of course, badminton put me under quite a lot of pressure. Badminton as a general word. Is this the last? Are you going to come back? We want to know. We wanted to say it here. It's got to be said here. Come on, this is your moment. Sort of, this is your last, isn't it? And I'm not quite sure. Because at that stage, things could have gone well. I was lying up there, lying in second place, and thinking, oh my God. And then it all went belly up. But I'd very much thought in my mind that this was it. And then when I went in that ring for the parade before the show jumping, I thought, I'll never be in this ring before. Never again. This is my last time. And it was quite emotional. And I just thought, I've had my time. And then it all snowballed, and I knocked all the jumps down, and it was all over. And it was actually, they announced it, I think. Well, I allowed them to announce that this was my last appearance, and it was pretty cool.
Yeah.
So it was all done quite nicely in the end, and it was probably a bit of the real world that I didn't then win.
Yeah. Very eventing.
Quite annoyingly, I could have won it with 3 fences down, which would have been amazing. And normally, if she has 1 or 2, that's about it. But to demolish the ones that she did was, she was obviously feeling something and that I couldn't tell.
Yeah.
And that dream didn't come off. But that's a little bit, coming back this year, that becomes a bit rawer. Last year, you're in them, you deal with it, and I'm used to dealing with disappointments. The amazing cross country, I thought, is what I'm going to focus on. The fact the jumps fell down, too bad.
Yeah.
When you come back this year, you think, wouldn't it be nice if? And I haven't really thought that before.
Yeah.
Would have been nice to come back as a good last one. But the important thing was that I was, I wasn't being pitied last year.
No, not at all, mate. It's actually, listening to you describe it, it's sort of the sport having the final say. That just to remind you on your last event, how tough the sport is.
Yeah, it's a good point. That's exactly our sport. Just in case you thought that you were, in case you thought you were good at this.
Just remember, mate.
You're just going to demolish a few of those, and that's just yeah.
How good. Hey, you touched on the fact you've obviously been here a number of times since 1989. I was just keen to hear, are there any particular memories that stand out from events prior at badminton?
I think last night when I drove in, I was quite late. By the time I got myself organised at home and nothing to rush for, I ended up getting here about 11 o'clock, and I drove in and thought, oh my God, I've just come here with no horse, and how different that was to arriving on my first badminton back in the days, and presenting my horse to the vets for this kind of pre-stable check when you arrive. I just can remember feeling, oh my God, I'm at badminton. Oh my God, I mean, how has this happened? And there I was with my lovely old horse that I'd done juniors and young riders on, and was he going to get around badminton anyway? But I was young and ignorant and was all systems go. So that was a pretty amazing moment to actually, just coming down the high street going, oh, this is actually happening.
Sure.
And then, there's lots of little memories, ups and downs. And I think some of my biggest memories are the old long format days when we used to start outside the front of the house, all under the trees there, and it was all kind of started I think in those days it was a bit earlier in the season, so kind of misty, cold mornings,
really?
and you were all kind of under the trees, and then you disappeared off up rows and tracks. It was kind of goodbye, and you felt you were suddenly all on your own.
Where did the course actually used to go?
The course was the same, but on rows and tracks,
Yeah.
you go off up, and we do the steeplechase track was where the grassroots do their dressage and jumping
Oh,
over
the airfield.
on the airfield.
Yeah, gotcha.
So you have 6 kilometres to get up there
Yes.
of rows and tracks.
Yeah.
And then what I always remember was an amazing ride around the park, right along the kind of wall perimeter. You come back down the long walk, you come nearly through the arch at the end.
Okay, yes.
And then you come down all the way, the last however many kilometres that was.
Yeah.
I think it was about 13 kilometres facey. And you'd be, trotting a bit and cantering a bit and trotting a bit. And then suddenly you see the house and you think, oh my God,
That must be amazing.
And then you see the people and you go up and down you've probably never done that walk, but you go up and down, so it's all in sight. And then you suddenly go off into your own little world in the dip. And then you come
no, I
up and
haven't.
it's quite, I always remember thinking, oh my God. And then, oh my God. And getting near, and you're watching again, you're sort of nearly dreading the time, thinking,
Sure.
I've got 20 minutes. Oh, I've got 14 minutes. Oh my God, I've
Yeah.
got 9 minutes. And you're thinking, it's the
Amazing.
excitement. And then you come into that 10-minute halt. And I always remember that 10-minute halt of, real countdown when you're trying to get the horse cooled off, washed off, change the studs. Sometimes you even change the bit for cross country. Keeping him walking, keeping him moving. You often had kind of 4 people helping you. You had someone standing there telling you how the course was riding, potentially, whether it was Yogi Breisner or in the old days. Lars Sederholm was
Okay.
very much my advisor because he's good mates with my mother. And the excitement of that kind of build up. Now it's, you do your warm up and it's like a one day. You just get told, right, you're going out up to the warm up arena, last 2 jumps around the practice into the ring, and then you're gone. It's kind of all kind of done. Whereas that build up was so lengthy.
Amazing.
You were out there riding for pretty much an hour and a quarter, an hour and a half before your cross country time. It was so
Yeah.
dictated.
Amazing. What did you prefer?
Whereas, it bits and bobs of both, to be honest. I much prefer many events you go to in the old days. The steeplechase was on unsuitable ground. The rows and tracks were on the road, and did you have studs? Didn't you have studs? Because
Yeah.
the steeplechase turns were tight, so you needed studs, or it was
wow.
muddy. But you couldn't have too much studs because of all the gravel tracks. Ground sometimes wasn't great. So now we don't have all those worries.
Yeah.
But it's cold-blooded now. In the old days, that whole phase A, B, and C built you up into the kind of cross-country mode
Okay.
of feeling that it was all quite natural. Whereas now, you're kind of thinking, oh,
Yeah.
just how's this all going to be going in 2 minutes' time when you're feeling like it's all not happening.
Sure.
So yes, it's a little bit more cold-blooded now, but also more calculated, a bit more exact, a bit tense. Before it was a little bit more natural, that whole progression.
Yeah, I see what you
Hard to
mean.
explain that. But I think for the horses it's better. For us, horses can come out of it a bit quicker.
Yeah.
In the old days, if a horse did 2-3 days in a year, you were doing well.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it
You know,
was.
it's
Oh, I
like
didn't appreciate
a
that.
bit like doing nowadays they do 5 marathons in 5 days, but like doing a human marathon. In the old days, 2
Sure.
marathons a year was what the
Was
body
tops. Yeah,
thought
yeah,
it
yeah.
could do.
Yes.
And eventing's a little bit the same. You thought they had 2 targets a year, whereas now quite a few will bounce back
Yeah.
from here and go somewhere else. Some might even go halfway around here and then go to Lamoulan if it goes
Yeah.
wrong.
Mm.
Whereas
Sure.
before, by the time you've done A, B, C, and half of D,
That was kind of
Lamoulan
it.
was
Goes
off the
goes-
cards anyway.
Sure.
So it just changes a few things. I mean, I think there's a lot that's good. It's
Mhm.
just a fact of life. Stuff does change,
Of
and
course.
we're very lucky that our sport is adapting, and
Mhm.
it will go on changing. And what will it be in the next 20 years? If we look back to 1989
Yeah.
and we're 25 and it's still going,
Yes.
look at add another
True.
30, 40 years, where will eventing be?
Yeah.
We all pray that it's still galloping around badminton.
Mhm.
Will it be? Will it,
Sure. Yeah.
will we?
we just don't know.
Don't get me going, but will we be allowed to ride horses?
Yeah.
Will making a horse sweat be acceptable?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Will putting metal in the horse's mouth
Yeah.
be able? We'll be riding in head collars bareback
Yeah.
Sounds
and
pretty
jumping
safe.
and jumping show jumps. And
Yeah.
don't get me going on that. But we
I
are
understand.
Yeah,
that.
we are things are so transitional now.
Yeah.
We've really got to preserve our sport as best we
100%.
can and hope that it hangs in there.
Yes, I think that's a good point to change topic a little bit. And producer Ellie, I think we have a fan question
I
lined
do
up.
have a fan question from Jess Rimmer.
Okay. Yep.
Yep, are you
yeah,
ready?
Yeah. Go on.
Hi guys, it's Jess Rimmer here, big fan of the show. My question for William is, if you had to choose 3 essential items that you couldn't live without, what would they be and why?
Good question.
Put on the
Oh,
spot
well,
there a
yeah,
little
yeah,
bit. William. What was it?
exactly. 3 essential
3
items
essential- But she didn't say
for me,
horsey.
horse or what?
I think she's being very
Yes,
general.
Okay.
I think she's letting you. Okay.
Could it's like with all due respect to dogs, but a dog's allowed to be items. 'Cause I always see
yeah,
with
I
a
think
Yeah,
so.
yeah.
fleet.
Yeah, I think I'd need. Well, she's sort of retired now, but I think the first essential item would have been Jackie Potts, my
Yes.
yard
Yes.
manager
Yeah.
of
Yes.
35 years.
Imagine like your desert
I
island
think-
discs.
I
Can I
think-
bring
Can I
Jackie?
bring a
I
human?
think she might feature quite highly on that list because
Yeah.
quite a lot would not have happened without her.
Yeah.
So I've been very lucky. She's still doing the odd day for us and keeping us in the straight and narrow.
Amazing.
And she's been a certainly a very, very big part of all my successes.
Yeah.
All right, so you got Jackie. You got
Jackie,
2 more.
and then that's a good guy. I can't think of. Obviously, we can do more people. So my
gonna
my
choose
wife
three
my wife's been pretty cool, Alice.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But she's been put up with a lot over the years. My wife and family have been great supporters and a good kick up the arse sometimes,
Mhm.
which we all need.
Yeah.
There's been not too much time to dwell. I think that's
Sure.
where I've been very lucky having other stuff.
Yeah.
You just had to learn to move on, enjoy the moments, but don't dwell on the moments that haven't gone well, and just keeping it all in perspective has been a very good role that Alice has kept me in control of. I've always loved having my dogs with me at competitions, and always enjoyed kind of their participation, whether it's disappearing, whether it's attacking, whether it's playing. Always been a very healthy distraction from
Yeah.
sometimes becoming a bit obsessed with what studs you're putting in and how many pads you're putting under your saddle.
Yeah, for sure.
So the dogs have been a good thing, and I think probably kit wise, I've obviously had my kit and what you trust. I've always been a big neck strap wearer, and it's not because I'm clinging onto it, but it's been part of what I feel right with.
Yeah.
It's just there, even if I only ever touch it just coming out of the start box, so as not
Yeah.
to grab the mouth as the horse goes forward. My mother, I was brought up from the word go, you get off the horse, don't touch the horse's mouth, don't touch it. As a result, I couldn't get a horse on the bit till I was like 30.
So good.
But the neck strap was always been. I was not allowed to get on a pony without a neck strap, and even now, if I don't have a neck strap, it
Feel a
feels
bit weird.
very,
Feels
very,
weird.
Yeah,
very
yeah.
naked. And I'm not ever been a trendsetter. But sometimes, there's a few neck straps around, and I think, oh,
That was
you
me.
also, you feel the same. You feel the same. I can remember David Green,
Mhm.
years ago, when I was a kind of, a serious 26-year-old and thinking that I, was going to be the next Dog's Bollocks. And he said to me, for God's sake, when are you going to stop being a Nancy pants and wearing a blinking neck strap? For goodness sake, just take it off. Stop looking like a real wet blanket. and I was
Look at me
I
now,
was
Greenie.
mortified. I was absolutely. He dealt me a real blow. I thought, oh dear, he's probably
Yeah, that
quite right.
cuts deep, yeah.
But my mother was more terrifying.
Of course she was. Well, I think the proof was in the pudding in the end, wasn't it? So,
So my neck strap is still there.
there we
Still
go.
there.
There we
Being
go.
strong.
We could go into lots of other little bits and bobs, but
No,
I
we'll
think those are
oh,
quite boring.
No, I would love to, but I think you need to
I
go
wonder
in.
what other people have said. I should listen to some of your history ones and see
Yeah.
who said.
You should.
Did you always ask that question?
No. So we get fan questions submitted. So
I
people
don't know. That's a Jess question.
Yeah.
But
So
you-
we
okay.
say ask whatever
You've
you
not
want.
been asked that question before.
Not that one.
I don't think so.
That's quite a good. She's never asked me that, and I know Jess obviously, but it's
Yeah, she's done well. I
she's
think we've had,
obviously a listener. I didn't even know she was a listener.
Oh, wait, I think you heard her there. She said she was a big fan of the
fan.
show.
Yeah,
so,
exactly. I never knew that.
Yeah,
Very
I'll
nice.
ask her about it.
yeah, good. Good on you, William. I know you've got to
Yeah,
get
I
to
better.
the
I
Causewalk
got
at 2 o'clock, mate.
another little trip. Yep, my first little trip.
Yeah. But if I can just say, thanks so much for sitting down with us. I know everyone's going to bloody enjoy listening to that
Yeah,
chat. It's going
I
to go
think
real
so.
good. So that's it from me, Ellie. Is there anything else from you?
I would love to carry on chatting,
Of
but I
course,
think
we should let.
I know
We've
we've
gotta
been
let you
chatting. Yeah,
go.
thank you very much for listening to me for so long.
No, it's been good, mate. And I always finish the podcast. I go, William Fox-Pitt. Thanks, mate.
Hi, this is Laura Collett, and you are
Okay.
listening to season 3 of
Let me do a high
Eventing
five.
Weekly
No,
with
it's
Mitch
fine.
and Braden.
Like that, and then you got to. That's it, and then to Ellie,
long one.
and we're done. Cool.
Perfect. Thank you.